We're at the end of June here, 2017. I thought it'd be nice to take a walking tour through the Edible Acres Permaculture Nursery. We're going to go inside this garden and take a look around. So stick with us. So Edible Acres is a permaculture nursery, and by that I mean, or we mean, that we adhere to the ethics and principles of permaculture and design our systems and our business around permaculture principles. So some of those things is about the idea of valuing diversity, valuing the marginal, stacking functions. There's all sorts of great things about it, but the way we can interpret it during this tour is basically this whole space is a functional food forest that has the additional stacked function of being a place where I propagate plants for sale. So you can buy plants from me online, but instead of having just very straightforward nursery production space, which you might be more used to seeing, commercial scale production, everything here has relationships with the plants around them, and there's a huge amount of diversity in both the plant varieties and then also structural elements. So there's all 7 layers of the food forest represented in this space. So just look at one little area just to pick out some highlights and talk about them. We've got a ground cover here in the form of mint root or Chinese artichoke. The edible part is a little tuber down below. Really beautiful, tall ground cover, helps protect the soil. Just behind it is yacon. This is the first year we're growing it. This is a not super hardy tuber, but we're interested to see what it does. You can see bronze fennel. We allow weeds to pop up here or there, weeds, in that they're very useful plants and they also have value to be able to sell them. You can see some raspberries here, and then a buffalo grape growing up the fence over the whole situation. Tucked in just to the south of that grape is a dwarf sour cherry. This will be the first year we get to try the fruits on them. Really excited about that. They're so vigorous and so happy here. And a shout out to my friend Akiva over at Twisted Tree Nursery. He taught me how to do some grafting. And so this is a little bed where freshly grafted apples are getting their first year growing. There's some stiff competition, but they're doing okay. For mid-June, that graft looks pretty good to me. So these will grow here for a season and then move out, either be sold or planted out into orchards in the fall or next spring. You can see we're allowing oregano to run around all through here to help protect from mice and rabbits that might get into the garden. We've got the Intensity Alpine Strawberry at their peak moment right now, with more apples all around. Another dwarf sour cherry. And then these are some new plants that just went in. Some named cultivar seaberry. We're working very hard on getting seaberry or sea buckthorn up to speed here. We now have about 12 varieties, so we'll be trying to figure out how to propagate those and make them available through the website. Nice black currant, more seaberry. This is a new bed, so it's not as complex as it could be, but it's getting there. Here's a bed where we've got honeyberries growing. These had a rough year last year. We had the driest year in 130 years, and so they didn't do super great, but they're alive and they're coming back. You can see a sea berries in the middle there to provide nitrogen to this whole area. More of these beautiful strawberries, enough to make it hard to walk through the garden. So we'll dig those up and make them available in the fall and spring again. More honeyberries, and then chestnuts. So these will all grow together for a year. The honeyberries are being stool layered, and I talk about that in another video, bringing compost around and packing that around them. And so I'll dig these up in the fall and divide them, get multiple divisions, and so I'll dig up the chestnuts along with them. So there's really no need in my mind to have things, a row of this plant, a row of that plant. It's a little more chaotic, but it's a lot of fun. And you can see over here I've got stool layering some hardy kiwis, which are climbing up onto this trellis, and some grafted persimmons just to the south of that. So again, that'll get all dug up, divided, and the kiwi will go back in after I've taken 5 or 10 divisions from it. in the overstory, you can see Siberian pea shrub and shipmast black locust in the background. Oh, I'm sorry, shipmast black locust and Siberian pea shrub. So both very powerful nitrogen fixing plants. Let me take a walk over there. And they're creating a little bit of shade, physical structure on which vines can grow, and they're producing a ton of nitrogen while they're providing nectar for wildlife. And you can see all these little seeds on the Siberian pea shrub that has a grapevine getting ready to climb it. And a thornless blackberry will arch through it and use it as a semi-support trellis. This is the Hungarian shipmast locust. They'll need to be dug out and moved next year because they're just going to be too big. But they'll come out along with purple royalty raspberry and some cuttings that have been rooting under here. There's red currants and such. Oop. More red currants in the shade, enjoying the shade while they root. And again, more hardy kiwi. This doesn't have a trellis, with the idea that I'll just keep piling soil on that and it'll root through it like crazy. Then I can dig it up. This is probably one of my favorite beds in the whole garden. Sea kale. This is my main propagation bed. I did a video earlier in the season where I was talking about how I propagate them. And even with all the divisions, the roots that I've been selling, getting them in other people's gardens, they come back bigger and more every year. They're heavy feeders, but I'm happy to feed them. And you can see some red shiso showed up. I don't know why, but God, is that beautiful together. And what a tasty little herb. I'm going to nibble on this while I chat. So again, all of this is for my business, right? I'm selling these plants and making a living with them, etc. But why not have the space that is my production be as beautiful and rich and diverse and have yields for myself and for my family? It's a really enjoyable place to bring people on tours. It's very complex, it's very diverse, it's very packed, but it is also making a living for my wife and I, which is pretty exciting. More and more stuff all throughout. There's European arnica, more honeyberries, there's dwarf sour cherries, there's cultivar grape over there. We've got true American high bush cranberry growing, black down, black currant growing in here with a Schutt's white oak just to the north of it. And clove currant, absolute winner. That's a new plant to me as of last year. It's a suckering, running currant with an absolutely delicious, delicious fruit, beautiful flowers, and really unique foliage. It's normally sold as a landscaping plant, but I really enjoyed eating it. Got some sea kale, goji berry, and gumi growing together. You get the idea. There's a ton of stuff. The nice thing in here, one thing you will not see anywhere in this production space is irrigation lines, plastic mulch, synthetic fertilizers, or even fertilizers at all. I just make compost out of manures and wood chips and apply them liberally every year. We don't irrigate in here at all. We do weeding, but just throw all the weeds into the walkways and then just mulch the plants more. And they really respond. There's some black-cap raspberries that are 7 feet tall. Niwat, it's a variety that fruits in the fall and the summer. Nice Nanking cherry. Some Turkish rocket squeezing out from the side of a brick. Some grafted pears. And then on the northern end here, we've got air potatoes loping along and becoming a semi-nuisance in a good way. Keep them in check as needed, just chop and drop. Some more dwarf sour cherry, and really beautiful orange Russian female sea buckthorn. I'm going to be taking softwood cuttings from this soon. Sea buckthorn I'm going to really be getting big on in the next few years. We've got it planted everywhere, and it's just such an incredibly beautiful and valuable hardy plant. So you can look for that on the website in the months to come. Hopefully for the fall we'll be able to offer it. And again, the first of the dwarf sour cherries. This one's Carmine Jewel. Figuring out how to propagate this to make it available as well. Really excited to try that fruit for the first time. Little clove currants popping underneath. So it's packed, and it's enjoyable, and it's really resilient, and it's actually very profitable. Since there is no major overhead or big infrastructure or complexity, it's just massive, massive piles of polycultures. The whole thing ends up being very low cost to operate. So any plants that I sell make really nice money for us. So it's nice to see that there are business models that are ecologically sound and nourishing and supporting and actually work financially. So that's our little permaculture nursery. This is just one of maybe 10 gardens like this, but this is a long enough video. We'll call it good. Thanks for watching so much, and hopefully we get to send you some beautiful plants this fall or in the spring. Take care. It's kind of crazy to think in the summer of 2008 this was a lawn. It's amazing how much can happen in less than a decade. I can only imagine the years to come what this whole space will look like.